We're going to go to the El Paso shooting, changing topics now, to put racism and racial issues back at the center of the political debate here in America. A Pew Research poll finds more than half of American adults think race relations are bad and getting worse. Now, Professor Ibram Kendi is on a mission to set the country on a new path toward equality. In his new book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, Kendi calls racism a cancer and explains how readers can shift their thinking to stop it. Earlier, we just saw him speak with 12 community members about the issue on the second anniversary of the Charlottesville attack. They were there. Kendi is the founding director of the Antiracist Research and Policy Center at American University and joins us at the table. Good to have you back, Professor.
It's a pleasure to be on.
All right, Doctor, start with this, because you said being an anti-racist is not the same as being not racist. And I was very confused. I had to read that page a couple times. So explain exactly what you mean in simple terms.
So I think the simplest way to understand it is when we think of the history of the term not racist, we're really thinking about eugenicists when being charged with being racist, saying they're not racist. We're thinking about Jim Crow segregationists saying they're not racist. White nationalists and supremacists today say they're not racist. And so we're really thinking about a term in which people are denying that they are racist. That's really the only meaning, real meaning that this term is held. But anti-racist, in contrast, has a meaning of somebody who views the racial groups as equals, someone who is pressing for policies that creates racial equity.
And that's the key, to look at racial equity.
Precisely.
Because I remember when the El Paso shooting happened, I don't know any black person in this country when they first heard it that said, oh, Lord, please don't let him be black. And you write about this in your book, that why do we take on that mantle? Because that's not something white people think when there's a shooting.
Because I think in many ways what our racial discussion has done is it's caused individuals, particularly black individuals, to carry the mantle of race.
Of the whole race.
Yes.
Partly because when we know that when people see a lazy black person, they're just not seeing a lazy person. They're seeing lazy black people. They're generalizing this individual negativity as opposed to allowing individuals to be individuals.
You write that you used to be a racist most of the time, but you're now on a mission to be anti-racist. How did you recognize this and how did you change?
And most people think black people can't be racist either, by the way.
Well, I mean, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, a time in which young black males were classified, like me, who were classified as super predators, a time when young black girls were thought to be hypersexual, having all these babies. Our communities were imagined to be severely dangerous. These were racist ideas circulating not only among white people, but even among black people. And young people like me were internalizing these ideas, internalizing, thinking that the problem was in part black people. And I thought that for a long time.
You believe that?
I thought it, I believed it, until I realized that there was nothing, the only thing wrong with black people was that we thought something was wrong with black people, and that the fundamental racial problem was racist policy.
One of the interesting things in the book is the idea that being a racist is not an identity. It is not a permanent condition of an individual. It's a temporary condition based on actions. Why define it in that way?
Because I think with my earlier work chronicling the history of racist ideas, I found that you had some people who in the same speech, even in the same paragraph of the same speech, would say things that were both racist and anti-racist. They would speak at the same time, right? So then how would we identify that person as being a racist when they also said anti-racist things? They also spoke about racial equality. And so what's actually happening is I define racist and even anti-racist as based on what a person is saying or doing in the moment. And we constantly change. Human beings are deeply complex, and I think that's a more accurate way to explain this.
You call racism a cancer and that it should be treated like a cancer. And I know you don't say this lightly because you've had stage 4 colon cancer.
Yeah, and I've had stage 4 colon cancer.
Your wife has had
my
cancer?
My wife had breast cancer. My mother had breast cancer. Even my father had cancer. And so I think through experiencing my own cancer as well as caretaking for loved ones who had cancer, I've been able to see how cancer is treated. And generally, particularly with metastatic cancer, and I had metastatic cancer, and I would argue we have metastatic racism in this country, there's typically a local treatment in which you go in and surgically remove the tumors, which is essentially like going in to remove the racist policies.
I was going to say, you have your health today. Can the country get its health when it comes to metastatic racism, as you put it?
I think so. I think if we flood the body with anti-racist policies, if we believe in the possibility that we can overcome metastatic racism, then I think we can overcome it.
How's your health today? You look good.
Yeah,
How's your health?
I'm good. I'm good.
You're good? Okay.
I'm trying to stay good.
All right.
Ibram
Glad
Kendi,
to hear
thank you
that.
so much for being with us this morning.
You're welcome.
How to Be an Anti-Racist goes on sale tomorrow.